Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we will be reviewing the washed Panama Finca La Esmerelda Diamond Mountain from Felix Roasting Co. And there's the container right there. Alright, so there's so much to talk about in this video, so I'm going to try to get through it as much of it as quickly as possible. Two articles I want to highlight real quick. The first one being from Sprudge, and it talks about how this coffee roaster does something a little different. They roast their beans in Houston and they have their storefront in New York City. They say it's kind of a way to save on rent, which makes a lot of sense, rent being extremely expensive in New York City. But they definitely include some really nice photos, so I'm going to link this article on there. And then the second one is from Eater, New York, where I wanted to highlight a passage that they put on here. It says Felix Roasting Co. opened in September 2018 in a neighborhood already busy with popular coffee roasters and cafes, and then they label some including Stumptown and Starbucks. It grew into a citywide destination known for its elaborate drinks and decor. So again, I think it's worth checking out the photos of this coffee shop because the best way I can describe it is it kind of looks like something from maybe a Wes Anderson film, kind of those Central European looks for cafes. But yeah, it seems like they're focusing on some elaborate drinks, but I picked out this coffee when I ordered their coffee as part of the blind taste test. I wanted to try this washed Panama because washed Panamas typically are my favorite coffees, and this put me over the $50 free shipping mark. Let me just get this part straight out of the way. This coffee is roasted a little darker than anything I've reviewed on this channel, and I had a very difficult time drinking this coffee, but this felt like a perfect opportunity for me to kind of discuss some darker coffees since I have not really reviewed any overly dark coffees on this channel. Typically I go for the more light medium American or even the super light Nordic roasts. So again, I found this to be a perfect opportunity just to talk about something a slight bit darker. But let me go ahead and get the details out of the way real quick. So I played around with this coffee a lot and I stopped drinking it after maybe my 5th cup because I couldn't find a way to get this coffee to be something that I liked. And I'm not just going to badmouth this coffee, I'm going to try to put a positive spin on this coffee as best I can. So the recipe I ended up going with on this final day was my standard 16.67 to 1 water to coffee ratio. And I lowered the temperature down to 199, maybe trying to get something different, something better out of this coffee. And I think it was best this way after I brewed it to the chemics. But again, I wasn't the biggest fan of this coffee throughout. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes. The first day I tried it was day 9. Very roasty, some subtle fleshy fruits and some nuttiness. And then day 11, again, still pretty roasty, a bit of nut forward tastes to it, some chocolate and some, again, subtle stone fruits. Here's when I kind of started experimenting with this coffee. I put it to the automatic coffee maker and it was a little bit even roastier at that point, and I was having a very difficult time picking out anything on that day. I tried it with the cone filter on day 15 and it was at that point I said this is a little too roasty for me personally. I can't keep drinking this coffee, especially considering I have some really nice coffees that I'm going to be reviewing here soon, and this coffee was just not my preferred taste. So here we are on day 17, and the best way I can drink this coffee is after it's cooled down a pretty significant bit. There are some really nice things to it. You can get some bright caramel, some really nice caramel to this, and those fleshy fruits are definitely still there. I would describe maybe as a bitter, darker chocolate you can get as well. So there are some things you can pick out. It just might be a little trickier than what I'm used to anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and put up the tasting wheel right now so you can see what I was getting. And the thing that jumps out is that it has a very lingering and lasting finish, and that does kind of come from what I would say is a little bit more of a roasty component to this coffee. The best way I could describe the roast profile on this coffee is probably a more medium to heavy, medium to dark roast for an American coffee roaster. Don't get me wrong, it's not quite Starbucks or anything, but it's kind of somewhere in the middle from what you'd expect between a medium and a dark, and it is a little roasty. So other things that were pretty high, and you can instantly see that this tasting wheel is different from pretty much every other tasting wheel I've ever had on this channel. Bitterness is higher, smokiness is higher, the caramel it's high, but this is to kind of highlight and emphasize that you can get other things, you can pull out other components from coffee, even if it is darker roasted. It just might take a little bit more, I guess, practice and experience. Being in Seattle, I've had my fair share of darker coffees. Seattle's a typically darker roast city, funny enough. So I have a bit of experience in this, but obviously I definitely prefer stuff to be on the lighter side. So overall, who I would suggest this coffee to, and I really kind of struggled with thinking of somebody that would really love this coffee, but there is a huge amount of people that still enjoy the kind of medium to darker stuff. It's people that are maybe slowly progressing towards the light stuff. But one of my really good friends owns a coffee roastery, and they can't roast any lighter than what is a pretty dark roast because there's a huge clientele for darker roasted coffees. And I would say that this Panama specifically probably caters to that clientele that still tries or likes to pick out some things from their coffee, that can enjoy some things from their coffee, but does typically tend to prefer a more traditional coffee as a whole. And the other coffee I had from Felix, I'm just going to say right now, was significantly better. It was roasted a bit lighter, so this one could have just been maybe an odd one out, but I have a feeling that Felix as a whole tends to be a bit of a darker roast than I am typically used to. So again, there are good things to this coffee roaster, and when I do discuss the next coffee, you'll see that there definitely can be some really nice highs that come from this coffee roaster, as with basically every coffee roaster you can find, even if they're not necessarily your taste. So I'm just going to leave this at that. If you've tried this coffee, or if you've tried Felix, please let me know what you think of it or them. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the washed Panama Finca Esmerelda Diamond Mountain from Felix Roasting Co. Thank you for watching.